Welcome, this is Professor here, and we're going to go over Arcane. We're going to go on Arcane for Mythic Plus content and how to maximize DPS as an Arcane Mage. And my personal favorite setup. So we'll just kind of jump right in. I am 204 item level equipped. I am using the Arcane Legendary for maximizing barrage damage on execute phases. Uh, Currently, I'm using mostly PvP gear. I'm not stat prioritization, anything good, just kind of having what I have equipped, which is mostly PvP gear. As you can kind of see all the gladiator stuff. Flex! Well, yeah, anyways, Mythic Plus content. So here I have damage meters from most recent Mythic Plus dungeon. This was a 10 the other side. I was able to pull 4.1k overall DPS. We had some freaking mad pumpers that actually beat me on the meters. Ugh. Anyways, we'll jump into it here. The talent selection, row one is pretty straightforward. Amplification. We are running Venthyr and Theo. The Arcane Prodigy Clearcast proc reducing AP is super important, so amplification is kind of a direct fit here. You get additional missiles, reducing the cooldown AP, more damage. I personally prefer Shimmer for Mythic Plus content. This is super great if you're, oh shit, I'm in the middle of a boss fight. I have a mechanic happening. I need to move, but I don't want to stop my Clearcast proc. I don't want to reduce my overall damage output. We're maintaining as much high output damage as possible. Shimmer's just a great pick. Rune of Power, straightforward, really the only pick. We're trying to maximize damage in that AP window and in our Rune of Power windows, so we're just going to go with Rune of Power. Now, this is kind of where I think a lot of variations of specs come in as you start seeing Resonance versus Arcane Echo. Personally, I cannot even get it to be remotely competitive. Using the Arcane Cole Execute Legendary, where it's 35% below health on the mobs, your barrage does an additional 130% damage. Combine that with Resonance, it is unbelievable damage output. Uh, I mean, you're hitting like a truck, especially in execute phases on bosses. They have so much health pool. You're able to get off so many executes. I've seen upwards of 40,000 crits on bosses. It's just really good, especially most people are blowing all of their cooldowns in the very beginning of the fight. That way, they're maximizing as much as they can to get all that damage out in the beginning. We can do that same thing, but when we go into the end of a fight, instead of being gassed out, we have no cooldowns, we have no damage pressure left. Now we've got our filler. This filler being that execute legendary. Combine that with resonance, it is freaking dirty. It's amazing. I have seen other people using this legendary, and I just don't think it can compare damage wise overall, especially in the state of Mythic Plus dungeons right now. Tanks are having to kite a lot. Mob packs aren't as tightly knit as they will be in the future of the expansion. Right now, it's very early. We're just on week 3 here. And due to that, I can't even state enough that it's so important. Resonance, more damage, more output. You can do a ton of damage with that execute phase. Chrono Shift, I think this is kind of optional. Chrono Shift versus Ring of Frost. This week, this is Tuesday, just after the reset. There is the new affix, which spawns mobs that chase you down. They're focused on you, and they one-shot you if they hit you in melee. So it's it's rough. Uh, so I do kind of prefer Chrono Shift for this week. Uh, Ring of Frost, it has a lot of viability, especially with the amount of kiting that people are have to do. And I think this is a talent that's interchangeable based on the dungeon, the mob pack size, and your tank. If you're pugging a tank, they're just going to break Ring of Frost anyways, so it's totally worthless. And the self utility of Chrono Shift, being able to make it so you can move faster, especially on like just off the top of my head, the other side where the boss does left side, right side mechanics. You need to shift to the other side. You don't want to use a shimmer. You want to save shimmer for when that AoE is going to drop on you. Boom, I barrage. I shift to the other side. This could also work for Plaguefall's first boss when he does the cone wave in front of him. If you're in a bad position, you're out of shimmers. You can chrono shift. You're faster. You can get out of the situation Ring of Frost, great pick though. If you're tank, you know the tank specifically, you know how they're going to pack mobs up. Tank needs to kite, you Ring of Frost outside of the pack. Pack's here, you Ring of Frost back here. Tank pulls them into the ring. Tank gets a little bit of breathing room, and then you can go back into more damage phase. And it kind of gives the tank a little bit better kiting path. Arcane Orb, I think this is just a must pick. Must pick for AoE damage. And this right here is one of your best builders. When you're going into large packs, you start off with your orb, you get 4 charges, you instantly get to hit a barrage right off the bat. You go into your Arcane Explosion spamming. And then when it should come off cooldown, you got 15, 20 seconds. Average pack size depends on the week, right? Fortified versus Tyrannical. You should have another time to get another one off in execute phase. You get 2 orbs. You get 2 quick instant cast barrages without having to hit 4 arcane explosions. That's a lot of damage from your barrage, and that's why I think this build works so effectively. So you can get those double orbs, huge barrage execute phase damage. Overpowered, I think this is just kind of universally picked on by people here. This is straightforward. Arcane power, ton of damage. The mana reduction is probably something I don't hear talked about a lot, which is so great. You can go into an arcane power phase with 30 to 40% mana and maybe a mana gem, or if you're Venthyr, Mirrors of Torment up, you can go into it with very little mana and you can still get a full use out of the AP doing as much damage as possible. So that's one of the really great benefits of Overpowered, is that reduction of mana cost during the Overpowered phase to make sure you can eke out every bit of damage and you don't have to worry about too much how much mana you're going into the pull with. Of course, that damage is insane. If I were to pick secondary stats here, I think one of the best things I would want to stack more is Mastery. Right now, I do think Mastery is probably our best secondary stat outside of Intellect being the primary stat. Mastery is so important. You get so much mana back, and of course the damage reduction or the damage increase from all your abilities. But that Mastery is so huge. If you're able to have more mana regen, that means you're spamming more 4-charge Arcane Blast during a burst phase. That means you're maintaining more uptime on your heavy damage cycles with those 4 charges. And this is also why I like Venthyr right now. You got Theotar. Theotar's ability here, Soothing Shade. A little umbrella pops up. This little umbrella is probably somewhere around this size right here. You step into it, you get a large bonus to Mastery, 525 Mastery. It almost feels like you can spam your Arcane Blasts and your mana barely drops maybe a percent or 2%. And it procs a lot right now. I feel like it's just so valuable. I know there is differencing opinions here. The Thrill Seeker Haste bonus, in my experience in Mythic Plus content, the Thrill Seeker Haste bonus is far too random. Sometimes it happens at the very end of a pull and you get nothing out of it. And it's a less proc than Theotar's proc, which procs much more often. So even if Theotar's proc is at the end of the pull, it typically procs so often that you're not having to worry too much about, oh no, I'm losing out on uptime of my Shade. I'm not getting that Mastery bonus, so is it really worth it? There's also great utility in Watch the Shoes, frees you from roots and snares. There's not a lot of fights that do root and snare right now, but it is just a great utility to have. In addition to you get an Endurance Conduit. Mythic Plus right now has a lot of AoE damage, and healers are having to do a lot of work. So it's really great to have this little Endurance Conduit here. Barriers heal you for their damage. Absorbed is my personal preference. They're both really good. The Tempest Barrier is also just fine. Blink, get a little Absorb Shield. Both fine. I really like them both, and I just prefer personally the Barrier Absorption since it's so much of the damage absorbed. Where right now our health pools are smaller, not like BFA where we had a ton of health. 5.6% just isn't a lot. And that is my breakdown of Arcane Mythic Plus PvP spec. Thank you guys for watching. This is Professor Hemlock here again. Like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll come out with some more content.